This video is brought to you by Factor, your food delivery service that gives you freshly made, tasty meals cooked up by their own gourmet chefs. The summer's hit, everybody's trying to get the right body, everybody's trying to get on the right diet. Factor is a quality meal plan that you need. It cuts down on all your grocery trips. You can skip all the prepping, cleaning, and all of that. They have it done for you. Fresh foods, never frozen, which gives you all the time in the world to enjoy the summer. I've been on Factor for a long time now, and I don't eat anywhere else. And I always get something a little bit different just to switch it up. And for today specifically, there are 3 different meals I'm debating on having. There's a creamy Parmesan chicken, which looks really good. I've never tried it before, but Factor's never let me down. There's a sun-dried tomato chicken. Some of my friends told me to get this one. They said it's really, really good. And then there's the jalapeno lime cheddar chicken. I'm a big fan of spicy food, so I think I'm gonna go with this one. Now, Factor's food comes prepared. All you have to do is put it in the oven. You can put it in the microwave, depends how fast you want it. For me, I like the stuff really quick, so I put it right in the microwave, take it out after like a minute and a half. And while I'm waiting for the food, they do have really good beverages. I love their strawberry banana smoothie. It's the one I always get now. The food is done and it looks really good. Factor's chicken is always on point, and you can get these too, as Factor has a deal for you. Just head to factor75.com or click the link below and use the code theweasel50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. Again, just click the link below and use that code. It's a great deal, man. I highly recommend it for you guys. What's up, guys? UFC 289 just wrapped up, and there were some interesting outcomes. There were some interesting performances, not too many finishes. So if we go down the stats of the card, there were a total of 4 finishes on the card, 7 decisions, and we had 1 no contest. The best performance of the card was Charles Oliveira defeating Beneil Dariush. Malott also showed up. Dan Ige looked pretty good against Nate Landwehr. Aiemann Zahabi with a huge knockout, the only flush finish of the whole card. And we had some major upsets. David Vorak lost, which was crazy. He was one of the biggest favorites on the card. Blake Bilder and Miranda Maverick as well. Huge upsets in those 3 fights. Charles Oliveira winning was also an upset. And Amanda Nunes secured her huge favorited spot. The main event was pretty much Amanda Nunes doing her thing. She's just so ahead of the pack at this point. Aldana was very tough, so it wasn't the most interesting fight. Nunes did exactly what we thought she was going to do, and we pretty much expected Aldana not to be able to fend off the takedowns, and that's how it turned out. Nunes showed effective wrestling, hitting the double legs, even got the back at times. We gotta give credit to Aldana to survive those bad positions, but she just didn't get going. She was trying too many feints. It looked like she was losing herself throughout the fight. In the beginning, she looked a lot more confident, but then in the 5th round, it's like she lost her timing and range. She didn't even know where to hit Nunes at that point. Nunes was connecting with some good jabs and stuff like that, and ultimately just fought a very smart fight. Still goes down as the greatest female fighter of all time. At this point, I don't know who challenges her. Maybe, I guess you do the trilogy with Pena, as Aldana was like the fresh new matchup, and now that Nunes beat her, the only fighter in the top 5 that Nunes has not fought yet is Ketlen Vieira. So we're probably going to see the trilogy with Pena, and then we'll see what Vieira is able to do with her next opponent, if she's able to get that title shot against Nunes. And then we should also put together the rematch of Raquel Pennington versus Irene Aldana, as the first fight was very close. A lot of people thought Aldana won that fight. And then we get to the highlight of the card. Charles Oliveira defeats Beneil Dariush in the very first round. It's insane what this guy's able to do. He looks even better than before. The man was not joking when he said that this is a new Charles Oliveira. His striking looked better, his grappling looked better, he was even slipping punches, he was speaking English, he's landing the right straight into a head kick combo, showing a kind of power that seemingly no other fighter has. And a lot of people seem to think that Dariush was beating him on the ground. That wasn't the case. His punches were all game blocked. He landed like a few shots here and there, but it seemed like, I haven't actually counted, but it seemed like Oliveira was landing more shots off his back. He was restricting Dariush from passing guard, and after he dropped him, he completely outmaneuvered him on the ground. And we're talking about Beneil Dariush, a guy who shamed Mateusz Gamrot on the ground, shown to be one of the better grapplers of the division. At this point, it seems like Oliveira and Islam are far above everybody else when it comes to grappling. Arman Tsarukyan may be on that level as well. Beneil's such a nice guy. It was tough to see him get finished like that. He was on a long win streak, and to see him lose in the first round once he fights his first top 5 fighter, and that's something a lot of people haven't pointed out. Technically, he beat Tony Ferguson, who was top 5, but Tony was on his way down. Right, Tony was on the decline at that point, so this is his first consistent top 5 fighter that he has fought, and he got dismantled. It's crazy how the discrepancy of looking so good against Mateusz Gamrot on the feet compared to how he looks in front of Charles Oliveira, and some people pointed this out and it might be true. It looked like Beneil may have felt the pressure of fighting Oliveira. The crowd roaring for his opponent, booing him. He's up against one of the biggest superstars, a former champion who has a load of confidence that's visible. Like everybody can see when Oliveira walks around, it looks like a champion's walking around. And he may have felt that pressure in there because he really did not get going at all up until Oliveira pulled guard. Even there, he didn't even do much. He tried that one roll after getting knocked down, and that got completely stuffed. The rematch with Islam is the only thing that makes sense. And Oliveira says that he'll fight him in Abu Dhabi again. Right that wrong in the same place. That's the next fight. And as for Beneil Dariush, I don't expect him to drop in the rankings. He might fall under Michael Chandler, but I think Beneil Dariush should get the loser of Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. What about Mike Malott holding down the fort? Canada's got their guy. This is the one. The guy's undefeated, carried it as an anchor for Canada, and got one of the only finishes on the whole card. He's also very well spoken. He has a great personality. I think the Canadian fans can really get behind this guy. Now, there is a whole thing about him being 31 years old and stuff, but he did miss 3 years of his career between 2017 and 2020 because he wanted to focus on his grappling, and you saw it. This is what he took 3 years off for, man. Snapping onto that guillotine like a bantamweight. That was so fast, and he got in there with a step-in switch, going from orthodox to southpaw and throwing double hooks, one right hook into a left hook. Putting down his opponent, jumped on the guillotine, and he had it so tight. You don't see a lot of fighters today jumping on guillotines like that. That whole sequence can catch someone off guard. Them stepping in like that while switching and throwing a hook. Actually, earlier, Dan Ige was doing that as well against Nate Landwehr. And I wonder if he picked that up watching that fight. He showed some pretty good kicks before that happened too. This is a very good performance from Mike Malott, and I'm very much looking forward to see what he could do next. Amazing performance. One of the best performances of the whole card from Mike Malott. Really showed up. I was kind of nervous for him on the press conference and all that stuff. He was talking big and he had a lot on his shoulders. He had the biggest reception from the Canadian fans and he delivered, man. Amazing when you see that unfold like that. Then we go to Dan Ige defeating Nate Landwehr by a decision, 2 29-28s and 130-27. I scored it for 29-28, but the third round could have went to Dan Ige as well. Did pick up in the third round, but he was getting hurt in the first and the second. Dan Ige was channeling Alex Pereira with that left hook, rocking and dropping Nate Landwehr with that punch. You could definitely tell it was a good adjustment going into the fight because he did say that he planned on firing straight shots to hurt Nate, but he found the left hook inside the fight that shows good fight IQ. But in his last fight against Damon Jackson, he also knocked him out with a left hook. They call him 50K, but this time he didn't get the knockout because, unfortunately for him, he was fighting a guy who has a great chin. Nate Landwehr was able to take those punches where most guys fall to. And coming into the third round and performing well there, he finally found success in the third round with the clinch, but it was a bit too late. So Dan Ige was actually able to adjust faster than Nate Landwehr, showing that there's levels to this, man. Ige's been fighting some of the best guys in the weight class, and Nate Landwehr just fought a top 15 guy. Dan Ige showed to be the smarter fighter, the more powerful fighter, and the more skillful fighter. And I didn't know that his hands are that big. They were saying like his gloves are custom made because his hands are too big or something like that. I didn't know that. It does kind of make sense of how he's able to hurt his opponents with one punch like that. But the majority of his techniques were not just the left hook by itself, but he was throwing a darting right straight, hopping into a coiled stance for the left hook. So it's kind of like he reaches in with the right hand just to cover distance and get Nate to respect that power. And once he stops, that's where he coils himself to deliver with all of the power into that left hook. And he was also going to the body as well. He threw, I think there was a double left hook in the fight too. One to the body, one to the head, Mike Tyson style. And he was landing at like a 50% clip, which is actually pretty high for a fight. Great performance by Dan Ige. And now coming off 2 wins in a row. And now I think Dan Ige deserves another top 15 fighter. Either he could fight Alex Caceres, who's number 15, or Sadiq Youssef, who's right above him at number 12. And then we go to Marc-Andre Barriault defeating Eryk Anders by a decision. Not too much to say about the fight, to be honest. I mean, it did start off really action-packed. Both guys are going at it hard in the beginning, and I thought that they were going to gas up by the end of the fight, but there were a couple of breaks because of low blows. Barriault was low blowing Eryk Anders completely by accident. I mean, the second time he did it, he threw a knee up to the head, but his foot hit the cup, and that break was actually pretty long. right after that happened, it looked like both guys got a second win. But Barriault was finding success with same-side combos that was made famous by some karate fighters like Robert Whittaker and Stephen Thompson. But he was throwing the right kick into the right hand instead of throwing the right hand into a right kick. Actually, Israel Adesanya, I believe, threw a same-side kick into punch combo when he beat Derek Brunson. It's something so unusual for the average fighter to get used to. It's proven to be very successful, and I think it's a new thing in MMA where you're going to see more fighters actually do this. So that was a good performance from Barriault. He's now on a 2-fight win streak. Then we go to Nassourdine Imavov versus Chris Curtis, which ended in a no contest due to a headbutt. So as Nassourdine was moving forward, throwing a combination, while Nassourdine was throwing the right hand and Chris Curtis was looking to counter with his left, that's where they clashed heads. And I guess because of the headbutt, Chris Curtis couldn't see. He was trying to make an argument for himself, but ultimately the ref called it off. Jason Herzog made the decision off of Chris Curtis's response to the doctor, and Imavov was honestly looking pretty good, much better than before, where he was completely absent in the fight against Sean Strickland and a few other opponents before. But against Chris Curtis, he was actually letting the combinations fly from a distance, throwing out good kicks to the knee, good straight punches, and it seemed like he was getting ahead. Unfortunate for him, it ended in no contest as it looked like he was the better fighter in there. And crazy, that's how one of the ranked fights ends on this card. But I wouldn't mind to see a rematch. What about Ariel Helwani, Aiemann Zahabi, blitzing in on his opponent as he was throwing a leg kick and knocked him out. One of the only clean finish of the entire card. Helwani putting it down for Canada, man. Dino Belbita looked pretty good. But other than that, that's the end of the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to give this video a like, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.